Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go.
Tonight, on First at 9 this Wednesday, the 5th of February 2025. No further action. The Attorney General says no further action will be taken against 3 suspects linked to the murder of Lasantha Wickramatunge. Digital investment. Sri Lanka needs bankable business models to attract investments for the digital economy, says Presidential Advisor. Deputy Minister vows to minimize Sri Lanka's digital divide. Debt restructuring. Sri Lanka to sign amended agreements with JICA and exchange papers with the Japanese government to complete the debt restructuring process with Japan. Passport issuance. 4,000 passports to be issued daily on a 24-hour basis. Government takes decision to reabsorb ex-passport officials to address staff shortage.
Chilo Dairy, Sri Lankawama Kiren Perata. ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
කට්ට පරිස්සම් කරගත්තොත් අපි පරිස්සම්.
Asian Paints Causeway Aquasave වැස්සත් මට්ටුවෙන් ගෙදරත් තිස්නේ.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9 on Sri Lanka's most trusted news source, Derana. I'm Tarindu Mahendra, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Now, in our top story tonight, Cabinet spokesman Minister Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa stated that the government will not import vehicles for members of parliament under the current vehicle importation measures and will not issue vehicle permits for MPs. He made this announcement during the cabinet briefing today. Additionally, the cabinet spokesman mentioned that the Sri Lankan government is engaged in discussions with the Indian government to resolve issues concerning Indian fishermen in Sri Lankan waters.
ඉන්දිය දීවරය දෙන්නෙක් මිස්ෆයර් වෙලා නේවි එකකින් ඊටපස්සේ එකට මේ ඉන්දියා රජයෙන් දැඩි ලෙස හෙලා දකිනවා කියලා ස්ටේට්මන්ට් එකක් දාලා තිබ්බා. මේ සම්බන්ධ මොහොර රජයෙන් මොකද කරන්න ආණ්ඩු ගණනාවක් ඇතුලේ සාකච්ඡා කරමු.
This issue has been discussed under various governments. There are certain limitations to the actions we can take on this matter. However, we are engaging in discussions with the Indian government. While we cannot promise an immediate resolution, we are working towards a long-term solution.
නාවික හමුදාව තියෙන මේ බෝට්ටු එහෙම එන බොටම් ට්‍රෝලර් අල්ලන්න බෑ. මේ සඳහා මොනවාරි කරන්න ඒ කියන්නේ කැපැසිටි එක මේගොල්ලන්ට වැඩි කරන්න මොනවාරි දෙයක් කරන්න යනවා රජයෙන්.
දැන් තේම සාකච්ඡාවක් නෑ. මේ ගැන ආරක්ෂක අමාත්‍යාංශය සහ දීවර අමාත්‍යාංශය අතර රජයේ අවධානයට අපි ගන්න.
මේ ආකාරයට වාහන එකපාරට ආනයනය කරන්න අවස්ථාව ලබා දුන්නේ මේ മന്ത്രിවරුන්ට අවස්ථාවක් ලබා දීමේ අරමුණින් නේද?
අවුරුදු 5කට පස්සේ අපේ
After 5 years, our government made the decision to allow vehicle imports under specific categories. Currently, vehicle imports are being carried out under the 3 categories we have announced. However, we have made it clear that MPs will not be granted vehicle permits. This was stated both during the election campaign and in our manifesto. Our policy is to provide vehicles to MPs through the Ministry of Public Administrations. These vehicles are part of the government fleet and after 5 years of use, they must be returned to the government. Since no vehicles have been imported in the past 5 years, we do not have a sufficient fleet of non-luxury vehicles at present. While MPs have certain responsibilities, providing them with new vehicles is not a priority of the government at this time. As we focus on stabilizing the economy, we have proposed alternative solutions for MPs and we hope they will be patient and cooperate.
පෙරේදා රැස්වෙච්ච කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේදී මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂගේ නිවස සම්බන්ධයෙන් කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලෙම යම්කිසි තීරණයක් ගත්තද ඔහුට ලිඛිතව දන්වන නිවසෙන් ඉවත් වෙන්න
1986 අංක 4 දරන ජනාධිපති.
According to the President's Entitlements Act number 4 of 1986, former presidents are to be provided with a suitable residence. However, the current residence in question is in a prime location and approximately 180 million rupees of state funds have been used for its refurbishment. As this particular property is a national asset designated for the incumbent president, it cannot be allocated to a former president. This has been confirmed by by the Supreme Court decision SCFR 449/2019 related to former President Maithripala Sirisena. If a formal notice has been requested, it indicates an acknowledgement that the residence must be vacated.
විකල්ප නිවසක් සම්බන්ධයෙන්වත් සලකා බැලීමක් නැද්ද?
ඒ වයසේ දෙන්නෙකුට ඉන්න පුළුවන් වර්ග අඩි ප්‍රමාණයක් සහිත නිවසක් ගැන ආණ්ඩුව හොය බලමින් ඉන්නවා.
Meanwhile, during the meeting of the Cabinet of Ministers on Monday, approval was granted to import coconut kernel-related products and desiccated coconut, excluding copra, equivalent to 200 million coconuts for the production of coconut oil. The imports are intended for use in industries that use coconut as raw material, thereby increasing the amount of local coconut harvest that can be utilized in the local market as a remedy to the market crisis amid a shortage of coconut in the country. In the meantime, approval was also granted to sign a memorandum of understanding with India for the construction of an accident and emergency treatment unit at Mana District Hospital and the supply of medical equipment with a financial grant of 600 million rupees. Chief Advisor to the President on Digital Economy, Dr. Hans Vijayasuriya says Sri Lanka must create bankable business models to attract investments for the nation's digital economy. Speaking at the Sri Lanka Digital Public Infrastructure Summit today, Dr. Vijayasuriya emphasised the importance of a robust digital public infrastructure in achieving Sri Lanka's digital economic aspirations. Meanwhile, addressing the same summit, Deputy Minister of Digital Economy Eranga Weeraratne stated that government will prioritise data security and minimising the digital divide in its plans for the digital economy. The Sri Lanka Digital Public Infrastructure Summit 2025, organised by the Minister of Digital Economy in partnership with the United Nations Development Programme and the Asian Development Bank, commenced today in Colombo. The two-day summit brings together global leaders, key experts, innovators and stakeholders from diverse sectors for dialogue and action on existing challenges and opportunities around DPI to accelerate economic growth and progress on sustainable development goals.
For the government, digital transformation is a strategic priority that will propel our nation into the future. Digital public infrastructure is the foundational framework upon which every modernization of our economy will rest. We aim to grow Sri Lanka's digital economy to $15 billion by 2030. To achieve this, we will invest heavily in digital infrastructure, foster digital literacy, and create sustainable economic opportunities for all citizens. The digital identity system will become the foundation for connecting government and private sector systems, streamlining public services and ensuring that every citizen has access to essential services efficiently and securely. As part of our ongoing commitment to the 50 in 5 global campaign, Sri Lanka will work closely with the UNDP, WHO and other partners to enhance our civil registration and vital statistics system. This joint program will be launched later today. Data privacy and security are paramount. Citizens must have confidence that their information is protected and used responsibly. Equally important is the need to bridge the digital divide. Digital transformation cannot be achieved by the government alone. It is essential that we collaborate with the private sector. Through public-private partnerships, we can leverage the strengths of both sectors to create a thriving digital economy.
The government has structured its ambitions along 5 pillars: growing the digital industry, uplift digital exports by $5 billion, grow the digital economy to around 12%, driving innovation and penetration of industries with the latest of technologies, efficient government and delivery of excellent citizen services, making sure the digital divide is minimized and developing the best in region infrastructure for digital automation. Where we are not strong is in interoperability of the systems we have. That is where digital public infrastructure comes in. The red letter is the unique digital identity. The national data exchange, here the aspiration is that using the unique digital identity as a key, the national data exchange would enable the sharing of data across the economy. Very soon, in a few days, we'll be launching the GovPay platform, which will revolutionize how we Sri Lankans would pay for government services. It's very important for the digital economy, if it's to be 2030 proof, to be based on the fundamentals of return on investment. It cannot be a charitable infrastructure. We should work out business models which, in themselves, will finance the digital economy into the future. These models should be bankable. These models should be those which we can proudly present to any investor.
Union Assurance.
Welcome to Cinnamon Life, South Asia's biggest entertainment hub, where awe awaits.
Sadaharita Plantations Limited, celebrating 22 years of your trust.
Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go.
Responsibility to look after our health.
The best nutritional supplement for diabetic patients with no added sugar. Maliban Vitagen. Stay healthy for a good reason.
Sri Lanka will sign amended agreements with the Japan International Cooperation Agency and sign exchange papers with the government of Japan relevant to restructured debt. The Sri Lankan government must sign the exchange papers and amended agreements with JICA to complete the debt restructuring process with Japan, keeping with bilateral negotiations. On the 26th of June 2024, Sri Lanka reached final agreement on debt treatment with members of the Official Creditor Committee of Sri Lanka's major bilateral lenders and also bilateral debt treatment agreements in relation to the loans owed to Exim Bank of China. Within the two sets of agreements, Sri Lanka successfully concluded debt treatment with major official bilateral creditors and the OCC members, including Japan and India, amounting to a total of $10 billion agreed to be treated by lenders. Sri Lanka's Cabinet of Ministers approved the signing of exchange papers between the Government of Sri Lanka and the Government of Japan, as well as amended agreement between the Government of Sri Lanka and the Japan International Cooperation Agency relevant to the process. The Attorney General's consent has also been granted for the relevant documents. Meanwhile, government has decided to operate the Department of Immigration and Immigration on a 24-hour basis in order to clear the backlog for passport issuance and eliminate delays amid the high demand. The department is expected to issue 4,000 passports a day. With a view to address the national requirement for additional staff to operate the department non-stop, Cabinet approval was granted to reabsorb on contract basis retired officers who had previously served the passport office. In addition, the procurement process has already begun to obtain 1.1 million empty passports from the current supplier. The government is in the process of addressing the shortage of passports due to a delay in the ordering process, along with cancelling the previous government's procurement process on a court order. Meanwhile, the Trump administration announced that all USAID direct hire personnel will be placed on administrative leave globally with effect from the 7th of February. The announcement raised concerns that this action will significantly affect humanitarian aid initiatives worldwide. Meanwhile, expressing views in this regard, Cabinet spokesperson Minister Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa vowed that government will continue USAID-funded projects in Sri Lanka with alternative sources of funding. Established in 1961, the United States Agency for International Development is an independent establishment put in place to administer humanitarian aid programs around the world on behalf of the US government. However, on the first day of his second term in office, US President Donald Trump signed an executive order freezing foreign aid for at least 90 days. Trump, who is a long-term critic of overseas spending, has said it does not represent value for money for American taxpayers. Against this backdrop, US officials revealed that USAID will be merged with the State Department and will have significant cuts in the workforce, but will remain a humanitarian aid entity. Meanwhile, USAID announced yesterday that all USAID direct hire personnel will be placed on administrative leave globally with effect from Friday, the 7th of February, with the exception of designated personnel responsible for mission-critical functions, core leadership and specially designated programs. The notice further stated that the agency is working with the State Department on a plan to arrange and pay for USAID personnel stationed abroad to return to the United States within 30 days. USAID employs more than 10,000 people, about two-thirds of whom are stationed overseas. In the 2023 fiscal year, the United States disbursed $72 billion of aid worldwide for causes ranging from women's health in conflict zones to access to clean water, HIV/AIDS treatments, energy security and anti-corruption work. USAID has spent billions of dollars on the development of agriculture, health, education, business development, trade, human rights and good governance in Sri Lanka during the past decades. However, the move to shut it down will have a profound impact on USAID projects in Sri Lanka. Cabinet spokesperson Minister Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa was queried on the matter during today's cabinet briefing.
Does the government have a plan to continue, assist and fund these initiatives that were previously supported by USAID?
If our government had made this decision, I could have responded. Let's see how this works out for us. We will have to find alternatives if they withdraw foreign aid. Sri Lanka does not operate on the funds received from USAID. It is good if they can grant funds to us. However, if not, we will continue these beneficial projects through the funds obtained through other sources.
Fast track your career from O levels with eSoft.
ඩයිබටසෝල් සීනිවලින් පරිස්සම් වන ඔබට අමතක නොවන පෝෂණය. ප්‍රයිම් ගෲප් ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වතාවට හඳුන්වා දෙන ලෑන්ඩ් ලීසින් ලේසියෙන් මීටමක්.
Single 1111 up to 60% off from the 11th November to the 17th of November.
Kalani wire කිසිගින්නක් නෑ.
කිසිගින්නක් නෑ. Kalani Fire Shield Wire.
The Attorney General has informed the Criminal Investigation Department that 3 suspects who were charged with concealing evidence and influencing witnesses in the murder case of veteran journalist Lasantha Wickrematunge may be released from the case since the Attorney General's department does not intend to pursue further action against them. These suspects include a former Army Intelligence Sergeant, a former Deputy Inspector General of Police and a former officer in charge. Sunday leader, editor-in-chief Lasantha Wickrematunge was murdered in his car in the Attidiya area of Ratmalana on the 8th of January 2009. Although the Criminal Investigation Department initiated an investigation into the incident, numerous parties alleged that it was not conducted transparently. On the 27th of September 2016, during former President Maithripala Sirisena's government, Lasantha's body, which had been buried at the Boralla Cemetery, was exhumed for a new post-mortem examination. The examination revealed that the journalist had not been shot but had suffered fatal head and brain injuries caused by a specialized weapon. Subsequently, the case concerning Lasantha Wickrematunge's murder was taken up by the Mount Lavinia Magistrates Court. On the 16th of July 2016, Prem Ananda Udalagama, a sergeant of the Army Intelligence Division, was arrested for threatening Lasantha Wickrematunge's driver, a key witness in the case. Similarly, on the 2nd of February 2018, Tissasiri Sugathapala, the then officer in charge of the crime branch of the Mount Lavinia Police, was arrested on charges of concealing evidence. On the 14th of February 2018, the Criminal Investigation Department arrested Prasanna Nanayakara, the then Deputy Inspector General in charge of the Western and Southern Divisions. All 3 suspects were later released on bail. On the 27th of January this year, Attorney General Parin Derana in a letter to the Director of the Criminal Investigation Department stated that he does not intend to pursue further legal action against the suspects in the Lasantha Wickrematunge murder case pending at the Mount Lavinia Magistrates Court. The suspects of the case include Premananda Udalagama, Tissasiri Sugathapala and Prasanna Nanayakara. Accordingly, Attorney General Ranasinghe has instructed the Director of the Criminal Investigation Department to report facts to the magistrates and within 14 days update him on the court's decision regarding the release of the suspects. The case pending at the Mount Lavinia Magistrates Court concerning Lasantha Wickrematunge's murder is scheduled to be taken up again on the 30th of May. Questions were raised regarding this decision by the Attorney General during today's cabinet briefing.
ලසන්ත වික්‍රමතුංග මහදවල් ඝාතනය කරේ. දැන් නීතිපතින් සැකකරු 30 දිනක් මේවට නඩුවෙන් ඉවත් කළා තියෙනවා.
We firmly believe that cases should not be brought to court only to be dismissed. Justice must prevail and the perpetrators must be held accountable. The government is currently reviewing the Attorney General's decision and we are prepared to issue a formal statement on this matter in the near future.
නීතිපතිවරයාගේ මේ තීන්දුව සම්බන්ධයෙන් ආණ්ඩුව අධ්‍යයනය කරමින් ඉන්නවා. ඒක ඉදිරියේදී ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න අපි සූදානම්.
Meanwhile, the Attorney General's Department informed the Supreme Court that the incumbent government has decided to introduce several new amendments to the Online Safety Act, which was passed under the previous administration. This was informed to the court by Solicitor General Viraj Dayaratne, who appeared on behalf of the Attorney General today when 4 fundamental rights petitions challenging the legality of the Act were taken up. However, the petitioners argued that the manner in which the Act was passed was unlawful. During the hearing, Solicitor General Dayaratne informed the court that a cabinet paper is scheduled to be presented in future pertaining to the proposed amendments. The Supreme Court bench advised it would be appropriate to proceed with the petitions after reviewing the progress of the amendments, and the hearing of the petition was postponed until the 23rd of June this year. Meanwhile, government announced the long-awaited certified price for paddy today, with officials emphasising that the prices are calculated, ensuring fair prices for farmers while maintaining stability in the rice market. Speaking at the press briefing to announce the certified prices, Minister of Agriculture K.D. Lanka stated that funds will be released from the Treasury to the Paddy Marketing Board for paddy purchases. With paddy harvesting having begun in several areas of the country, farmers have been calling on government to announce a certified price for paddy for the past few weeks. Against this backdrop, the Minister of Agriculture convened a special media briefing today to announce the certified prices for paddy purchases.
අපිට වීඇලේ මණ්ඩලය සතුව හෙටවී මිලදී ගැනීමේ හැකියාවක් නැහැ. නාඩු වීඇලේ මණ්ඩලය මිලදී ගන්නවා කිලෝ එකක් රුපියල් 120කට. සම්බා කිලෝ එකක් මිලදී ගන්නවා රුපියල් 125කට. කීරි සම්බා කිලෝ එකක් මිලදී ගන්නවා 132කට. එතකොට අපි ගොවි ජනතාවගෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා මේ ප්‍රකාශ කරලා මිලට වඩා අඩුවෙන් විකිණීමට ඔබට අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි කවුරුන් හෝ විසින් වැඩි මිලකට වී මිලදී ගන්නවා නම් ඒක අපිට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. ගොවියට වී කිලෝ එකකට යන පිරිවැය සඳහා වී කිලෝ එකකට ලාභය සඳහා පිරිවැයෙන් 3න් එකක් ගොවියට එකතු කරලා ලබා දෙනවා. වීඇලේ මණ්ඩලය මෙන්න මේ කියපු මිලට හෙට සිට වීඇලේ මණ්ඩලයේ ගබඩාවලදී මිලදී ගන්නවා. ඒ වගේම අපි වී මිලදී ගැනීම ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කරන්නේ නිසි මොහොතේ. යම් යම් ගොවි සංවිධානවලට ඕන මොහොතේදීවත් යම් යම් දේශපාලන උවමනාවන් මත ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන පුජ්‍යල කණ්ඩායම් වලට ඕන විදියටවත් නෙමෙයි වීඇලේ මණ්ඩලයේ වී මිල ප්‍රකාශ කරන්නේ සහ මිලදී ගන්නේ. අපි ගබඩා සූදානම් කරගෙන තිබෙනවා වෙළඳපොළ පාලනය කිරීමට සමත් ප්‍රමාණයක් මිලදී ගන්න. වී මිලදී ගැනීමට ඕන කරන මුදල් භාණ්ඩාගාරය මගින් ඒ මොහොතට අවශ්‍ය වෙන ප්‍රමාණයට ලබා දීමට තීරණය කරලා තිබෙනවා.
වී මිලදී ගැනීමට අදාළ රුපියල් කෝටි 500ක මුදලක් අනුමත වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒකෙන් මුදල් කොටස දැන් ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. වී කිලෝ එක රුපියල් 120 වුණාම කිසිම ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. මේ පවතින පාලන මිලට හාල් දෙන්න පුළුවන්. මණ්ඩලයට වී ගෙනාවුවාම ඉබලෙම මුදල් ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන්. රජයේ මුදල් ක්‍රියාවලියේ රෙගුලාසි ටිකක් තියෙනවානේ. කෙටිම කාලයක් ඇතුළත මේ මුදල් ටික අදාළ ගොවීන්ට ලබා දීමට උදාන කරලා තියෙනවා. වී මණ්ඩලයේ වී ගන්නවා, සතුස්ස වී ගන්නවා, වී මිලදී ගන්න හැකියාව තියෙන සම්පකාර වලින් වී මිලදී ගන්නවා. ඒ වගේම අපි කියනවා අපි මේ ගන්න වී අපි 8ක්වත් විකුණන්නේ මේ වී අනිවාර්යෙන් හාල් බවට පත් කරලා මේ හාල් මාෆියාව කඩන්න අපි ඒකට මැදිහත් වෙනවා.
Meanwhile, the Paddy Marketing Board says that it has prepared nearly 200 warehouses to store the paddy that is to be purchased from farmers starting tomorrow. Chairman of the Paddy Marketing Board, Manjula Pinnalanda, said the warehouses can store about 210,000 metric tons of paddy. Welcome back. Now, Speaker Dr. Jagat Vikramaratne informed Parliament today that he has not yet received the Supreme Court's decision on the Local Government Election Special Provisions Bill. He made this statement in response to a question from opposition leader Sajid Premadasa regarding a recent claim by Minister Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa that the Speaker had already received the relevant decision.
දැනගන්න කැමති ඔබතුමාගෙන් පළාත් පාලන ආයතන ඡන්ද විමසීම් විශේෂ විධිවිධාන 50 කෙටුම්පත පිළිබඳව රටට ප්‍රකාශ කරත් ඒ තීන්දුව ඔබතුමාට ලැබිලා තියෙනවායි කියලා. ඇයි ඔබතුමා අපොහසත් වෙන්නේ මේ තීන්දුව අද මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කරන්නේ?
ගරු විපක්ෂ නායකතුමනි මා වෙත එම වාර්තාව මෙතෙක් ලැබී නොමැත. අපි දැක්ක අපේ කැබිනට් ප්‍රකාශක අපේ නලින් ජයසේන මැතිතුමා කිව්වා ගිය සතියේ මම බදාදා බ්‍රහස්පතින්දා තිබුණේ ප්‍රෙස් එකේදී මේ වෙනකොට ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයේ තීන්දුව කතානායකතුමා වෙත යවලා තියෙන්නේ. ඔබතුමාට ලැබිලා නැහැ. ඔබතුමා මට කියන්න මොකක්ද අතරම දැනට වෙලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා. මොකද ඇයි එහෙම ප්‍රකාශයක් කරේ කියලා.
කතානායකවරයා දැන් ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නේ ඒක තමයි නිවැරදි දේ. තාම ලැබිලා නැහැ කියන එක.
ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයෙන් එහෙම තීන්දුවක් දීලා නැත්නම් කොහොමද මේ මෙහෙම ප්‍රකාශයක් කරන්නේ? ඔබතුමා මම කියන දේ විශ්වාස කරන්නේ. මමනේ ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කරන්නේ. හරි.
I would like to speak in Tamil.
Garu Mantruma, you have submitted your privileged question in English.
Thank you for letting me know. කතානායකතුමා මට මේක සිංහලෙන් කියන්න කැමති. ඔබතුමා ලිඛිත ලියලා තියෙනවා 23 වෙනිදා පොලිසියට මාව අත්අඩංගුවට ගන්න කියලා. හැබැයි මට දැනුවත් කරලා නැහැ. Shame on you.
ඔබතුමා මේ ලියුමේ ලිය තියෙනක කියවන්න කරුණාකර.
I can't talk.
No, you read what you have written.
Which part of the standing order says I can't talk?
You can read only the things we have written.
The shame on the parliament. We can't speak. What's the shame? You are celebrating 77th Independence Day yesterday, whereas I can't speak 77 days in this parliament. Shame on this parliament. Shame on you?
කතානායකතුමනි මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ එතුමාගේ හැසිරීම ගැන අපිට විශාල ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. මොකද හේතුව දැන් ඔබතුමා shame on you කියලා එක පැත්තකින් ඔබතුමාට කියනවා. හරි ඉතින් මේක කරන්න දෙන්න එපා. මොකද්ද මේ කරන්නේ? මෙයාට මේ ඔළුව අමාර he has a mental disorder. Well send him to a doctor because he has a mental disorder. තමත් ඔබතුමාලා කෝප් කමිටුවේ සභාපති ධූරය දාලා ඉවරයි. හැබැයි කෝපා කමිටුවේ සභාපති ධූරය දැම්මයි කියලා දැන් කියලා තියෙනවා. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කරු කතානායකතුමනි කමිටු එක හමු වෙන්නේ නැතුව කිසිම සභාපතිවරයෙක් පත් කරන්න බෑ. ඒතකොට මෙහෙම යන්න බෑ කරු කතානායකතුමනි. අපි මේක මෙතනින් නතර කරන්නේ නැහැ. වැත්තර වශයෙන් අපි මේක IPU එකටත් ගෙන යන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඔබතුමාලාට 159ක ලොවෙත් නැති ජයග්‍රහණයක් ලැබලා තියෙනවා. හැබැයි මතක තියාගන්න ලොවෙත් නැති පරාජයක් ලැබුව 66 දෙනෙකුත් මේ පැත්තේ ඉන්නවා. මේකටත් සවන් දෙන්න.
අපිට මෙම ප්‍රෙෂර් එක IPU එකට ඔබතුමාලා කියනවා අපි IPU එකට ඊට දෙගුණයක් කියනවා. ඔබතුමාලා ගිණුම්කාරක සභාවට ඔබතුමාලාගේ නියුතුව පත් කර ගමන් අපි ගිණුම්කාරක සභාවේ සභාපති ධූරය ඔබතුමාට දෙනවා. අපි වචනට වගේ කියනවා ගරු කතානායකතුමනි අපිට දෙකක් නැහැ. ඔබතුමාලාගේ අභ්‍යන්තර ප්‍රශ්න වෙන මුස්ද ගන්න පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ඒ ප්‍රශ්න ගේන්න එපා.
පැහැදිලිවම පක්ෂ නායක රැස්වීමක් කැඳවලා ඉවිල්ලා මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ විසඳමු. මොකද දන්නවද මේ සභාව මේ විදිහට අරගෙන යන්න බෑනේ.
ඒ වගේම විශේෂයෙන් මම කියන්න කැමතියි ඔය ජනාධිපති අරමුදල සම්බන්ධව කාරණේ ගත්තම 2004 ඉඳලා 2010 පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ මන්ත්‍රීවරු ගත්ත අරමුදලේ ගණන් කිව්වේ නෑ මේකේ. ඒ නිසා කරුණාකරලා 2004 ඉඳලා එක පෙන්නන්න. එතකොට හොයාගන්න පුළුවන් කවුද කුඩු කාලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා හරියටම හොයාගන්න පුළුවන්.
ජනාධිපති අරමුදලෙන් සල්ලි ගත්තද නැද්ද කියලා කියන්නේ.
මම රුපියල් ලක්ෂ 5ක් මට ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. ඒක මම පිළිගන්නවා. කිසිම වෙලාවක മന്ത്രിවරයෙකුට රුපියල් ලක්ෂ 5ක් මේ ජනාධිපති අරමුදලෙන් ගන්න බෑ කියලා තමුන්නාන්සලා ඔප්පු කරලා පෙන්නන්න කරුණාකරලා. හරිද?
The leaders of all major opposition parties represented in Parliament convened a meeting today at the opposition leaders' office in Parliament for a critical discussion on future political affairs, including parliamentary strategies. The meeting, chaired by opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, aimed to foster unity among opposition parties and strengthen collective action both within and outside Parliament.
The Mount Lavinia District Court today ordered former Minister C.B. Ratnayaka to pay 250 million rupees in compensation to Samagi Jana Balavega Member of Parliament Sujiva Senasinghe for defaming the SJB MP. Senasinghe had filed a complaint before the court alleging that former Minister Ratnayaka defamed him during a television program by claiming that he had supported the central bank bond scam. With that, here's a look at more local news in brief.
The Chief Veterinary Officer of the Colombo Municipal Council confirmed that the cause of multiple animal deaths in the Bere Lake was a bacterial infection. The bacteria were identified after running several tests on tissue samples collected from deceased animals at the lake. Measures to vaccinate the animals remaining at the lake with antibiotics will commence today. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka Customs today seized 65 grams of Kush cannabis and 500 millilitres of liquid cocaine with a combined value of over 13 million rupees concealed in a suspicious package. This is the first recorded instance Sri Lanka Customs has discovered liquid cocaine. According to police sources, the suspect is currently in police custody and further investigations will continue on the matter. In other local news, a vehicle dealer was arrested for illegally importing and registering a Toyota Land Cruiser with the Department of Motor Traffic. The suspect was ordered to be placed under remand custody until the 7th of February after being produced before the Panadura Magistrates Court yesterday. On February 7th, the suspect is scheduled to be produced before the Colombo Chief Magistrate.
Sri Lanka has decided to obtain a concessionary loan of $100 million from the World Bank for climate-smart agriculture projects for integrated rural-urban development and resilience with technical support from the International Finance Corporation. The Integrated Village Development and Climate Resilience Project aims to improve productivity of all agricultural sectors, including food crops, plantation crops, livestock and fisheries productions. The involvement and activities such as climate-smart agriculture and diversification, water resource management, ensuring economic equivalence, capacity building and training and development of infrastructure facilities and supplying facilities have been included in the project. The project also aims to improve domestic and foreign market competitiveness. The benchmark index of the Colombo Stock Exchange plunged significantly amid selling pressure on some profit-taking. The SPI dropped 500 points to 16,456, marking the highest intraday loss since the 25th of April 2022, when the index plunged by over 600 points. The number of positive contributors remained at a mere 16. The banking sector expected noteworthy adverse pressure on the SPI, with 4 out of the 5 top negative contributors belonging to this segment. Consequently, H&B, Commercial Bank, Melster Corp, Sampath Bank and NDB emerged as the top negative contributors to the main index. Market turnover stood at 6.4 billion rupees, denoting a recovery from 3 billion rupees in the previous trading session. However, this was still lower than the monthly average of 6.8 billion rupees. The insurance segment led turnover, contributing by 22%. This was followed by capital goods and food, beverage and tobacco sectors, which contributed 35.3%. While investor participation experienced little downturn, the negative sentiment dominated the outcome of today's session. Furthermore, foreign investors emerged as net sellers throughout today's session, registering a net outflow of 344 million rupees. And up next, we have Binal Vikramage from Capital Alliance with some thoughts on the current status of the economy in our next segment, Economic Outlook.
Between January 27 and the 31st, crude oil prices fell. The US President reiterated calls for OPEC to lower oil prices. Overall, Brent crude declined by 0.33 USD per barrel, while WTI crude dropped by 0.59 USD per barrel. Meanwhile, the weekly average weighted prime lending rate, or the AWPR, for the week ending January 31st decreased by 11 basis points to 8.56%. The average weighted call money rate, or the AWCMR, remains steady at 8%.
And that's all for tonight. Thank you for joining and have a good night.